What keeps you awake at night?
Sea levels are rising globally.
Fears fueled by horror stories.
Among the worst flu season in a decade, and it hasn't peaked yet.
We all know the atomic bomb is very dangerous.
Another series of deadly terror attacks.
I don't want to be blamed if you cannot get to sleep tonight.
Welcome back.
Hello.
How are we doing? It is after
So
Thanksgiving, friends.
Yes.
We're recording this on Saturday, but it's been a while after Thanksgiving for y'all.
Yeah. I'm sure the
what'd you
brick
guys-
of food is still in my stomach, though.
Probably. I ate so many carbs. Thanksgiving is the time for carbs.
It is.
I mean, it's an excuse. It's perfect.
Yes. How was everybody Thanksgiving? What did we do? Gang?
Well,
Brooke?
I went to the boyfriend's house, and we had a meal together as a family, and it was wonderful. And they're all so nice. They're just nice people. It was just a good dinner.
Love that.
That's cute.
I went to my cousin's home and, pet their dog the entire time and then ate way too much to the point where I unbuckled my pants and my relatives weren't happy about it, but it's fine.
Unbuckled. You wear belts?
Well, unbuttoned.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify that really quick.
She wears jeans with giant buckles instead of buttons.
I would love
it's
that.
the new
I think that should be
fashion.
Pilgrim aesthetic.
Oh my god.
So today we are continuing our series on
Also, I'm Brooke.
Oh, I'm not fucking introducing us anymore. We never remember.
That's true.
We have to. It's part of the podcast.
It's our
Olivia.
brand. I'm
Bree.
Brooke.
Oh,
Yay.
god damn it.
Nope, that sounds about on brand for us. And today we are back with unsolved, non-murder related mysteries. It is Bree's day today. How
She
we
is
doing,
queen.
Bree? She is really hyping this up.
I enjoy doing research on it because it's not something that, made me incredibly sad, just, curious.
So good. It's a far cry from last time.
No, there's only so much I can take.
Oh, really quick, we should probably do a little bit of housekeeping. So last time we recorded, we did a little shout out to Cassidy Patterson, who was the first person to become one of our patrons on Patreon. We misgendered Cassidy, and that was entirely our bad. We should have been gender neutral just in general, especially since we weren't sure. But he was really nice and just corrected us gently.
Yes,
so I'm
very
so
sweet.
sorry, Cassidy Patterson.
And so this was the story about how we lost our first and only patron. No, he's sticking around. He's cool.
No, he's so cool. He was just so
we
nice
got an
about
email.
it.
I woke up in the morning on Friday, and I got this email. It's like, "Hey, thank you for the shout out. Really appreciate it. I'm a man," and I'm like, "Oh no!"
I felt so bad.
Yeah,
God.
we felt really awful. So now that we've got that out of the way, and all the bad feelings have been resolved,
Right.
Thank you, Cassidy.
Thank you for being patient. My V. Let's continue on with some sad bads, if we will.
Sad bads.
Let's imagine a scenario. It is November 24th, 1971, exactly 47 years ago to the day from recording this very podcast.
Am
fuck,
I wearing bell bottoms?
You can be if you want to.
Yes.
Well, actually, no, you are not, ma'am. Because you are a flight attendant on a Boeing 727 departing from PDX Airport, the nation's #1 airport.
No, not more planes, please. No.
To an airport in Tacoma, Washington, just
okay.
outside of Seattle. An extremely short flight lasting a duration of only 30 minutes.
Oh, well, that's good.
After helping the passengers with their drink orders and making sure that they are comfortable, a man towards the back of the plane starts to stare. This being pretty typical, seeing as you're an attractive young lady with a lot to offer.
Feminism.
The man hands you a note. You playfully bat your eyes thinking he could be giving you his number, and the flirtatious behavior was probably due to the bourbon he was drinking. Then, you put the note in your purse, thinking about the possibility of calling the number when you get back to your hotel that night. But the man in the suit and glasses is not so patient, continuing to stare at you until he demands you read the note. The note reads, "I have a bomb in my briefcase. Come sit near me." You begin to panic and think it's some sick joke at first, but you don't want to take any risks. You quickly sit next to the man, asking him to look inside of the briefcase to find a series of wires attached to a bomb. You may not know it yet, but you are about to be a part of one of FBI's biggest unsolved mysteries and the only successful plane hijacking in the history of the United States. ladies, to continue to freak out Brooke over any future air travel, as well as our listeners at home. This is the story of D.B. Cooper.
Woo! Our man DB.
Cool.
Now, do y'all know about D.B. Cooper?
Yeah, there's a BuzzFeed Unsolved on this. That's
Oh, is
how
there?
I
I don't
found
know
out about
nearly
it.
enough.
Fuck.
No,
So,
no, but I'm excited to go into
I
this.
really didn't want to do a BuzzFeed Unsolved. I tried so hard.
No, it's also one of those things where they only do like 18 to 20 minutes. So
Yeah.
we've
Right.
got like an hour and 15. So I'm sure we're
And
going.
also, I know basically nothing, so
Okay,
it's all new
perfect.
for me.
Love this.
So yeah, it was the first successful plane hijacking in the history of the United States, and it's very bizarre. So we're just gonna get into it, and we're gonna start with the cold hard facts, ladies, and then we can get into the gritty theories about what actually happened.
Just an aside, I'm just imagining the listeners were like, "Whew, well, last week was planes, but like thankfully I don't have to worry about flying out to see my family for Christmas because they're not going to do planes anymore." And you're like, "Flying out of PDX," and they're like, "No."
Yeah, it's
Did
another
you mean
plane
me?
one.
I am the one who is scared.
Yeah,
That's the me.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I can't help that we both chose planes, but it's fine.
Did you heard I was talking about planes and you're like sweating from your forehead?
Yeah, I was
You're
like, but it's alright. It's a totally different plane.
Yeah.
So, D.B.
That's
Cooper.
worse.
It only talks about air pressure like once or twice. You're fine. So D.B. Cooper bought a one-way ticket to flight. D.B. Cooper bought a one-way ticket for a flight arriving in Tacoma from Portland on November 24th, 1971. So he bought the ticket in cash the day that his flight was taken off, right? Which is sketchy, but sure. Of course, his name wasn't D.B. Cooper. He said his name was Dan Cooper and later called D.B. Cooper in a newspaper article published sometime after the heist. And it was catchy, so it stuck.
Okay, to be fair, D.B. Cooper sounds really fucking cool.
Yeah.
He sounds like a Steely Dan type.
Yeah, he sounds
does.
like a mystery thriller author or some shit.
Yeah, I love that.
But of course, both were fake names.
Sure.
D.B. Cooper was described as a very average middle-aged white man.
I'm sure that was not fun to read in the papers. Like he's like described as very
Average.
average white man. He's like, well, that's just unfair.
He was like,
I am above average. God damn it.
I have qualities that... All right, he was in between 5'10 and 6 feet tall, wearing a business suit with a clip-on black tie, a white shirt, a trench coat, loafers, dark glasses, and of course, he carried a briefcase.
Clip on.
That's
Yeah.
same.
I talk about it. After shortly taking off, Cooper ordered a bourbon and soda and started to smoke a cigarette because, it was the 70s and you could do that on planes.
Which is insane to me.
So crazy.
Just smoke on a plane.
Where does the smoke go? Are you just, like, hotboxing the plane with cigarette smoke?
Yeah.
Okay,
Kinda,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sick. Love that. So, he presented a mysterious note to a 22-year-old airline stewardess named Florence Schaffner. After Florence saw
That's
that
us.
That's us. That's our role. After Florence saw that there was in fact a bomb in the briefcase, she was instructed to calmly hand a separate note to the captain. The second note said that he would leave everyone on board unharmed in exchange for $200,000 in $20 bills and 4 parachutes. Today, the money would be equivalent to around $1.2 million. So imagine the amount of clip-on ties that this man could buy.
That's a lot of clip-on ties.
That's a lot of
That's
clip-on
at
ties.
least 6.
I mean, you're not wrong.
At least.
Where was he thinking that the pilot was going to get this money?
Oh, that we're gonna go on to explain that.
Wonderful.
So
I'm
he
jumping the
instruct-
gun.
You're fine. You're good. You're asking the questions that we all want to know. So he instructed the pilot to continue the flight as usual, but it would be slightly delayed to slight mechanical difficulties. This gave the Portland police and the FBI time to get Cooper's money and parachutes, as well as leaving the 36 passengers completely in the dark until after the whole situation.
I would be pissed.
So, like, my whole thing is you gotta imagine there are people on board who are like, they go over the Odomacom and they're like, yeah, we're gonna be slightly delayed due to mechanical difficulties. And there's one guy who's like, are you fucking serious?
Meanwhile, the flight attendants are like pissing themselves, and the guests are just like, so
The
inconvenient.
flight attendant is like handing out crackers, shaking. They're like, say I love you to your children.
Free alcohol.
So he asked for, again, $200 million in $20 bills and 4 parachutes, right? So,
200,000. You said 200 million.
Oh, sorry, 200,000. Jesus, that
Good
would
lord.
fucking Dr. Evil shit.
$100 billion.
So after they made sure the passengers exited the plane safely and arriving in Washington where they were supposed to depart, authorities provided Cooper the $200,000 and the parachutes he requested as an exchange for the
shit.
passengers on board.
Wow.
Yeah, it was like a ransom. It's just
Like,
the
it worked,
passengers...
though.
Yeah, no, the passengers just had no idea what was going on to keep the peace, essentially.
Can you imagine you're being beckoned off and there's like FBI agents and
Holding
you're like,
guns. There was actually, there was,
Oh.
after reading the scenario, there was sniper rifles on, like, roofs and stuff, and, like,
Oh,
yeah,
word. There's like
so-
800 laser pointers pointed at the people exiting the plane. They're like, huh, that's weird.
that one guy who was complaining about the mechanical difficulties was like, what the fuck? Okay, so Cooper released all of the passengers on board and some of the staff, but kept 2 pilots, a flight engineer, and a flight attendant on board so he can successful escape. They refueled the plane, and then Cooper instructed them to go to Mexico City. But they actually...
the parachutes. Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a little slow on the uptake.
No, you're totally fine. But Mexico City, the pilot was like, we can't possibly make it to Mexico City. We don't have enough fuel. Even if we refueled it, it's not going to be enough. So he said that Reno was fine.
which is, I'm sure, how most people describe Reno.
Reno's fine.
I'm so sorry, Reno. We didn't mean it.
There's like one dude that's like, what the fuck?
He's in Reno. He's
I like this city.
God. Okay, so basically he requested that the plane fly no higher than 200 knots per hour and just under 10,000 feet, which is extremely slow and extremely low, being a Boeing 727. Like, it's very, very unusual. Yeah. Also, very specific. Cooper also requested that the landing gear should be deployed in the takeoff landing position and the wing flaps lowered to 15 degrees. So, yeah, again, clearly very specific. After the FBI was finished negotiating with Cooper, they sent a total of 5 aircrafts to trail Cooper. Around 8 p.m., there was a slight decrease in cabin pressure, noted by the captain. You see, somewhere between Seattle and Reno, Nevada, Cooper opened the rear air stairs and jumped out of the plane with $200,000 and no one on board harmed. But what happened after that, no one knows.
Love that. And the podcast is over.
All right, well, if you want to give us an
13 minutes, cool.
iTunes review.
It's a new record.
But so the FBI's investigation, called Northwest Hijacking, or simply the Norjack investigation, would last for 45 years, with hundreds of leads and 800 suspects just in the first 5 years of the investigation. The FBI called Norjack, quote, one of the longest and most exhaustive investigations in its history.
Damn, son of a bitch.
45 years. So
That's... Wow.
let's get into the actual investigation. During the FBI's investigation, they questioned the pilots of their 5 planes that were trailing Cooper, right? And they said that they never saw Cooper jumping off, and that they couldn't possibly pinpoint a location that Cooper could have landed safely.
Sure.
In the plane, they found a total of 66 unidentified fingerprints, 2 of 4 of the parachutes, and Cooper's clip-on tie. He left the tie behind. He knew he was gonna get more. I love that. It really
Can you
was.
imagine he's like walking into a Nordstrom? He's like, all right, Dad, we're getting a real tie today, Dad. All right.
That's all he wanted.
Oh, God. Okay, so after interviewing passengers on the plane, the FBI came up with a series of composite sketches that we will post on our Instagram for our listeners, and I will show Brooke and Olivia now.
He looks like that guy from It's a Wonderful Life, whose name I'm completely forgetting right now.
You know, to
What
me,
is
he
his
kind
name?
of looked like Shane from Unsolved Mysteries. If I'm just
Don't be
throwing it
mean to Shane.
out. Hey, I'm not saying. I'm just look at the head shape.
I guess.
Sure.
He was, I guess, a much older Shane.
He just looks like a basic white dude to me.
Yeah, he's
He
pretty
reminds me-
average. Jimmy Stewart. That's what I was thinking.
There
of.
he is. He reminds me of, like, those Men in Black sketches that people used to do. Yeah. Okay. So...
Men in Black sketches that people used to do. Like,
Well,
it
you
was
know,
really
like-
cool to, like, draw Men in Black sketches. And
Like-
they're like, this is like, anime's looking pretty cool now. And, we're not really into the Men in Black.
Well, the conspiracy, like, you know what I mean. You get what I mean.
Everybody knows it went cartoons, Men in Black, anime. That was the trajectory.
Sure. Y'all can look for yourself and agree that I'm right. Basically, just your run-of-the-mill average white dude, right?
Yeah, nothing special.
And though there were many people coming forward as Mr. Cooper, one man was arrested and faced major consequences for his actions. This suspect was Richard Floyd McCoy.
What a name.
That's a fucking cool name.
That's
Richard
just fucking
Floyd
bomb.
That is
McCoy.
absolutely like a Steely Dan name.
I love that.
Love that.
And he was arrested for a similar crime several months later, supposedly inspired by Cooper. Floyd was bragging to his friends one night at a bar that if he were Cooper, he would have done it for at least $500,000. Sure enough, in his unsuccessful plane heist, he asked for the same amount he was telling his friends Cooper should have asked for.
Imagine
figure.
they're like unknown man, plane heist, $500,000, and his friends are like, yeah, you know what? I feel. You remember that, right? That was.
Didn't Dick say something about that a while back?
Oh, man. What
So,
a moron.
Unfortunately, while serving his sentence, McCoy made a fake gun and escaped from prison, but was killed in a shootout with law enforcement.
Huh.
He was later eliminated as possibly being D.B. Cooper, partly because he did not match the descriptions provided by the two flight attendants.
Yeah,
they
that'll
said
do it.
absolutely not him.
That'll do it.
After investigating the aircraft and potential suspects, the FBI looked next at Cooper's potential landing ground and the actual jump itself. Now, this is the most complicated bit, right? Through the FBI's pilots said they couldn't see Cooper, the combination of all black clothing as well as cloud cover could cause Cooper to be undetected. The many factors such as environmental conditions that can change any time during the jump, the aircraft's speed, and when Cooper pulled the ripcord, all significantly affected Cooper's landing point by miles.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would just be straight up impossible.
Yeah, it's the so basically it was just like many people on the FBI's team tried to figure out like all the possible calculations. And the FBI came up with the most probable landing position to be near Lake Merwin in Washington, although it was later proved by the FBI that it was a little bit more southeast of that, but
Didn't he want to go to Reno?
yeah, but he jumped. He didn't care where he was landing. His whole bit was that he just would jump off in the middle of it.
Isn't Portland south of Washington?
Yeah.
Why did he land in Washington? They went down. They went south, not north. You know what I'm saying? Everybody know what I'm saying? He directed the plane to go to Reno, which is like south, so they should be heading south from. Wait, it was from PDX to somewhere or to PDX?
It was Washington to Reno. So at some point from Washington to Reno,
okay.
he jumped out.
Yeah, so they went from PDX to Washington, and then they were heading south.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Might be.
No, you're totally fine. Its clarification is perfect. That's why we're doing this. After elaborate searches conducted by the FBI, from door-to-door searches all the way to aerial searches, no trace of Cooper was found, followed by a second search in spring, again leading to nothing. So at this point, they've done 2 mass searches that have cost millions of dollars, right?
Yeah, no doubt.
The final effort from the FBI was to search for the serial numbers on the cash that they gave Cooper.
Huh.
So the FBI was smart with their ransom money and actually took track of the serial numbers on the money they gave him, so if he tried to spend it, it would come up, right?
Right.
So they checked casinos, financial institutions, etc., offering a hefty reward for any leads, but again, found nothing, leading the search to go completely cold for 7 years.
That's interesting. He must have had it laundered or something.
Well,
Funny I should mention that.
great question, Brooke.
What they did is they found all of the money in a series of washing machines.
That's how you do it. You know, all the serial numbers where there was a 1, he just like wrote a 7.
Got him!
And it's like shaky too. It's like a completely different ink, and the teller is like, something's not right about this.
But I picture him wearing the same outfit at the bank, just like looking at him with the wanted poster behind him.
And a clip-on tie.
Just shaking. So, in February of 1980, almost 7 years later, a young boy named Brian Ingram found $5,800 in cash while looking for materials to build a campfire camping with his family.
Way to go, Brian.
The money was extremely damaged, but still in bundles. But the important part is that the serial numbers matched with the serial numbers for the money Cooper stole.
Who could have guessed?
This was in like a bag?
No.
What was it in?
It was just like loose money all in bundles.
Huh.
Buried under the sediment. Many
What are
believe
the
that
odds? That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Right. So many believe that due to the extreme weight of the money Cooper was carrying, as well as the poor functionality of the parachute, that it was that he was unlikely to survive. Others,
Oh.
however, hypothesize that due to Cooper's specific instructions, he had to have some prior flight experience as a possible Air Force veteran, or a retired jumper, or even a paratrooper. Yet this was debated later by the FBI, saying, quote, we concluded after a few years this was simply not true. No experienced parachutist would have jumped in the pitch black night, in the rain, with a 200-mile-an-hour wind in his face, wearing loafers and a trench coat. It was simply too risky.
He just wanted to look cool.
Yeah,
Like,
man,
he
I
was
get
like,
it.
he was actually an experienced paratrooper, and he's like, fuck, I know this is like, I should be wearing some like Nikes and like some sweats, but like, I don't know, I'm feeling a clip-on tie and some loafers, you know what I mean?
Well,
I
I mean,
feel
he
like-
left the clip-on tie behind, so he knew that that would at least create some drag, you
He
know?
was also drinking a brandy and soda on board, which is just very Bond-esque. You know what I
He
mean?
just wanted to be cool as
He just
fuck.
wanted to be fucking
I mean,
baller.
what a way to go.
Yeah.
Okay,
if you're gonna
and so
do
the
it.
quote goes on to say he also missed that his reserve chute was only for training and had been sewn shut, something a skilled skydiver would have checked. Another piece of evidence that was carefully examined and supports the theory Cooper wasn't a professional is his fucking clip-on tie.
Yeah, everybody knows that people who parachute have real silk ties.
Yeah, come on.
They're not black. They're a nice paisley.
Nice
talking about the
There's
ties.
no such thing as a nice paisley. Jesus.
The people.
I was really taken aback by that. She was like, they're not black, they're white. And I was like, wow!
I said paisley, so that
yeah, I knew we
ties.
meant tie after.
We meant ties. Wow. Okay. Anyway,
Is it gonna be a race thing, guys?
yeah, Olivia
I
immediately
don't know.
made me feel
I don't,
guilty about it.
I don't know. I don't know. You said black. My brain
Oh
went
my
to...
god. Okay, so moving
We gotta
on.
get out of this.
So upon examining the tie, paleontologist Tom Kay found traces of titanium on Cooper. Titanium was extremely rare in the 70s and led Kay to believe that Cooper was working in a chemical manufacturing plant as a manager, engineer, chemist, being the only employee that could wear ties in those facilities.
I'm sorry. There's like rules. They're like the engineers cannot wear ties. Scientists, though, feel free. Clip on, preferably, in case of some kind of emergency scenario. But feel free to dress up a little. You know, have some fun with it.
Have fun
You
with
can do a
it.
bow tie. You make it funky.
I mean, that would kind of make sense though. If you're thinking about like safety reasons, you wouldn't be able to wear
Sure.
like a tie, like one that loops. But if you wear a clip on, it'll pull off.
Right, unless you're like an actual like big boy on campus, you know.
A big boy on
The
campus.
dress code is like no ties except the big boys.
Except the big boys. The
Big
big boys
boys.
gonna wear the ties.
You can do whatever you want. Wear a nice
Have a-
paisley.
and have a brandy and soda as they sit in the lounge, smoking their cigs,
That's-
talking about the plane heist they committed. Okay, so, but what about the money, Bree? If Cooper didn't make it to the ground, then how did the money get there in one place? It must have been buried. Well, listeners at home,
Yeah.
you could very possibly be right. It turns out that the theories of Cooper possibly burying the money out of fear the serial numbers would be tracked are just as possible as the money floating down the river upon the event of Cooper's death. The money that was found in the late winter of 1980 has complicated the whole situation more than it has helped it. Though there are many theories on who Cooper is, including false admissions, no one truly knows what happened to Cooper, making him either the most Bondish villain I have ever seen in my life or the dumbest piece of shit.
Either is fun.
So let's talk about it. What do you guys think happened?
Well, I mean, I don't know anything about planes, but he did have a lot of really specific information about, like, how to slow the plane,
Right.
the degree of the wing tilt, and the landing gear stuff. Like, I don't know.
an-
That's not
an-
stuff I would know.
Right. Another piece of evidence that was brought up too was the fact that he on the plane was talking about how he knew like all the grounds below them and knew exactly where they were at all times. So he was very familiar with Tacoma, Washington, the Pacific Northwest.
Interesting.
Well, yeah, and that's interesting, though, because it's, like, a mix of, like, completely aware and unaware, and, like, this is 71, right?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
if this was 2018, it would not be difficult to educate yourself in, like, plane mechanics. You know what I mean? You could just, like, everything's on the internet.
Right.
But, like, this is 71, so, like, get a full knowledge of, like, plane and tilt and everything like that would require he either has a very actively used library card, or, he's,
Plane
like, an
heists for
expert.
dummies.
He's sitting there, and, like, the old woman is like,
I don't know
Side
about
eye.
this one.
or, he's well versed in it, which would make the engineering one kind of make sense to me.
Right.
Yeah.
And that would make sense because he would understand the plane mechanics, but, like, wouldn't understand the whole parachuting aspect of it, because
That
that's, like,
makes
an
sense to me.
active role versus, like, studying the mechanics.
Well, and the fact that he specifically asked for it in $20 bills is seen as kind of fucking stupid, because he could have asked for it in hundreds and it would have been a lot less weight for him to carry as he was parachuting out of the plane.
Well, also, I guess maybe the mentality for that is, like, if you're paying for hundreds, it's very hard to pay for things in hundreds, and it's, like, really easy to
Yeah.
track them, right?
Right.
Versus, like, how many people, like, when I work, like, somewhere and somebody gives a $100 bill, like, everybody's, you gotta hold it up to the light and look for that little mark. Sometimes you
Right.
got the little, like, pen to, like, make sure it's real. They got the little stripy thing, and
Right.
like, it's very difficult to pay for something with a $100 bill, and you get a lot more, like, actively looking at it. So
Right,
if it was
sure.
like publicized, like, you got to check the serial numbers, like, how often are you, like, shopping for something and, like, you just hand them the money and they just count it and put it in the register immediately. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Yeah, no, it was pragmatic from, like, a financial sense, but yeah, I hadn't
Yeah.
thought about the weight. That would have been
Yeah.
really heavy.
Well, and that's the safety too, right? Because, again, his outfit didn't help the situation either.
yeah.
The fact is also, this
shit.
motherfucker was wearing sunglasses on the plane to look cool.
I wear my sunglasses at night.
Okay, Brooke.
It's like Blues Brothers
He's just
style.
a cool guy.
He honestly, and I hate to say this, I think he's fucking. Oh, maybe that's the universe telling me something. But
think
I
he's
think
fucking?
honestly, DB Cooper, like, I don't know, he kind of seems like a badass. Like,
No,
Yeah, I
he
mean,
seems like a moron.
if you're gonna die, going out in a plane heist in the middle of the night wearing a trench coat and sunglasses, like, come on.
this fucking man ordered a brandy and soda, smoked a cig, and went, "Come here, sweetheart, I'm about to hijack this plane." Then opened the rear doors and just flew out like a fucking boss.
That's what I call some big dick energy.
It's some big dick. If anything, we can admit, big dick energy.
Big dick
Yeah,
energy.
Big dick energy.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, now that I'm, like, mulling it over and I'm, like, considering, what his qualifications are and everything.
Yeah.
It does really sound like a weird mix of complete knowledge of a situation and,
Right.
like, knowing stuff about a situation based on what you've read in books.
Right.
So,
Right,
like,
yeah.
you see, like, I mean, James Bond was a very popular novel at the time, and, like, the movies were coming out and everything like that. So, like, this sounds very Bond-esque. And,
sure
in the
does.
movies, it works out that he's, like, in a $5,000 tux, jumping out of a plane, and he's perfectly fine, but of course that's a movie, and that's not how life works. Like, for the same reason that, like, people in real life will, like, use certain guns because they've seen them in movies.
Yeah.
And anybody who's, like, actively, like, used a gun is like, why the fuck would you use that gun? Like, you know what I mean?
Right,
Like, it's just
yeah.
like, well, like, oh, well, James Bond did this, so therefore it's gonna work, which is, like, confusing to me, because there must be some level of confidence in his ability, because nobody described him as, nervous or anything like that.
No, actually, he was described as extremely calm by all the airline flight stewardess.
Yeah.
He was described as keeping an extreme level head. He wasn't nervous at all. He was just a dude on the plane that he was like, yeah, I'm hijacking this plane.
God,
He
that's
also,
like sociopathic.
Yeah, it's sociopathic or narcissistic, or like truly believed, like, if the scientist thing is correct, like, I know enough about the plane, and, like, this is gonna work the way that it's gonna work out.
Right.
If I feel like a real person who fully understood every aspect of the situation, from planes to, jumping out of a plane and everything like that, they probably would have been a lot less confident, because they would have known, okay, this is going to be difficult, the weight thing's going to be a problem, I have to check the parachute, like...
well, and that's the thing is, out of the 4 parachutes offered, he took the one that was used in, like, parachuting school, skydiving school, instead of the more professional one. So it seemed like he was
Did
an
they
amateur.
do that as
in
a test? Did they...
They could have.
Yeah.
I think that they just tried to pick up whatever parachutes that they had available at the time, and then it was noted that he took the one that seemed the most problematic, because the one that he took, like the thing that you pull the chute with.
Yeah, it wouldn't pop out. It's for
Yeah.
training. It's just to literally, like, make sure you know how to pull it at the right time.
Right, well, and that's the secondary one is like that, but the primary one pulled out. So, like, they don't even know if he pulled the chute, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Because it was dark and it was raining, wasn't it?
That's
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
thing that just kills me about this, is that, like, okay, so he knows stuff about planes, but, like, to do this at night and in the rain,
Yeah.
like, it's risky enough during broad daylight in the
Right.
middle of an empty field.
well, and that's the thing is they did, that's why they think he picked a Boeing 727, was because the stairway that he jumped out of was going to be out of the way of any, like, potential dangers of, like, getting sucked up by the engine or the propellers or anything like that. So he chose that. It's just very interesting how, like, some of his choices were extremely smart and specific, and then some of them seemed like basic, like, only, like, idiots would do that type of thing. You know, like,
Yeah,
it's
it
not...
seems like all of his knowledge was about planes and their, like, technical stuff. But
Right.
yeah, it seems like the jumping out of said plane was not really his expertise.
Again, seems like a very, like, movie, like,
Yeah.
oh, I saw it in a movie and therefore it's gonna work.
Right,
Blah, blah, blah.
right.
Well, that's what's so interesting is, like, this is even, like, really common in a lot of, like, killers or stuff like that, where they will know something super in depth, like, about one aspect and kind of neglect the other ones because they
Right.
assume that their strength will compensate for their lack of knowledge.
Right.
Yeah,
Except
so could
he was jumping out of a plane, so probably
you'd
not.
think. So one thing I was thinking about when you were talking about the landing is, like, there's essentially two places he potentially landed, right? It was either in a large body of water or it was in forest. Both are less than ideal because you have somebody that's landing in a suit, which is not lightweight and it's going
Right.
to pick up a lot of water really
Right.
fast, with two heavy suitcase. It was one or two heavy suitcases.
Well, yeah, it was the money and then the parachute attached to it with also, I don't know what happened with the bomb. I don't know if he took the briefcase with him.
Maybe, probably. No,
Yeah.
maybe because that's evidence.
Oh,
So
yeah,
he
maybe
took
the
it with him.
FBI just, I don't know.
I mean, he
Yeah.
might have just dropped that.
Coulda. Yeah.
I mean, it could have been a fake bomb too. We really don't know.
Yeah,
That's
but
true.
so, like, you know, if he landed in the water, there's a very high probability that he just, like, drowned. Because,
Right,
like, I don't
Right,
think
'cause
you could have
the chute would
stayed
have dragged him
afloat.
down.
Yeah.
Well, and that's a very popular theory, is that he landed in water and that he didn't have time to make it up or whatever, and something in his actual jump went wrong, which is very likely and very probable.
Yeah.
Given the parachute and the weight. But the money somehow floated down the Columbia River and was found in the
if he landed
sediment.
in the river. Because the other thing I was going to say, too, is a lot of people don't know this, but the large majority of the paratroopers that jumped out, like, World War II or Vietnam, would just get stuck in the trees. And it's very hard to pull yourself out.
Right.
So, you know, I don't know if we all remember Lord of the Flies.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that? There's a
Yeah.
scene in it where the paratrooper lands down, he's dead, and, you know, he's fallen and he dies.
Right.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler
but-
alert to Lord of the Flies.
Hey, I don't know.
If you haven't read it yet,
Come on.
Some high schoolers like, ah, dang it.
No, I haven't gotten to that chapter yet. But, like, no, that's really common. It was like you would paratroop down, you would get stuck in the trees, and you'd fucking die there. Because, like, if you're unable to cut yourself out of the chute, you're hanging there until you die.
well, I mean, also, but they did an aerial search and didn't find a body. So then that's another possibility. But also, yeah, it's
I don't know, but it's such a dense, like, you know how dense Washington
well,
is,
exactly.
right?
And so also,
True.
but apparently years later, they said that they found some elements of a parachute and, like, styrofoam from his, like, bag trapped in the tree or whatever, but we really don't know if that's him.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
just
it's
in a
been
general
so
yeah,
long,
and exactly.
it's-
And so, like, this is the problem with this series, right? This is the thing that I guess keeps me up at night about this, is that you know, there's only so much that we can actually determine to be true
Right,
and our
yeah.
facts, and the rest is just like, I don't know, I guess. But yeah, but going back to this is something that I wanted to bring up, was that another thing that could have inspired Dan Cooper was there was a comic book called Dan Cooper's Mysteries Secrets, and it was also known as Les Adventures de Dan Cooper.
Oh, yikes.
is a
That was bad.
Yeah,
Is this French or is this Spanish?
it's French.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I'm
That would be
gonna tap out. Not my
Yeah, no.
expertise.
Yeah,
This is not my expertise.
I tried my absolute best. But it's
Pretty sure you don't pronounce that S in lay, though.
let.
Yeah.
It's French. You don't pronounce the S. You don't pronounce like half of the letters in French.
Yeah, it's all unnecessary. Just don't
Yeah,
say
just-
anything and you've basically got it down.
But anyway,
My French roommates are listening and they're like, "That's unfair."
Hey, wait a minute.
I just don't. It's a beautiful language. I just don't. I don't know.
We took Spanish in high school.
We took Spanish in high school.
I took French and I don't remember half of it.
Basically, it's a comic book series about a fictional Canadian military flying ace and rocket ship pilot. And but his name was Dan Cooper.
Interesting.
The comic was conceived in 1984. And
Wait, it was conceived in 1984.
1954. Sorry,
Yeah,
might be.
Yeah.
And so it was basically about this like fighter pilot that would go on these insane missions and do like these heroic acts of like taking money from the rich, giving it to the poor. It was very like a Robin Hood-esque hero.
Robin
right?
Hood in a rocket ship, if you will.
Yeah, he's a pilot in
Band
the Royal
name.
Canadian Air Force, and it was like future scientific fiction, that type of thing. So what they think is Dan Cooper possibly was Canadian and read this, and then eventually took it as a way of inspiration for
That
his
is, you know, and that
heist.
would make a lot of sense because I'm sure, like, you know, if he was some kind of expert in, you know, planes, which let's just say for the sake of speculation, we're all agreeing that he has some kind of expertise
Yeah.
in flying. If he was reading stuff like this, I feel like there would be some stuff in here about him jumping out of like his rocket ship and like he's taken it at face value and everything like that. I think a lot of people assume that science fiction is a lot realer than it is.
Yeah.
So that would have made a lot of sense, and you know, I mean, I guess he could be taken living the Robin Hood life.
Well, and like some of the storylines, like he would wear a suit and glasses and like match the description of all of that, and so like it's just very interesting how even like back then, I guess people could be inspired by media to.
You know, that could be interesting, an interesting theory, and as far as like that could explain like this illusion of grandeur,
Right.
Because you obviously you have to, you know, I feel like if I was pulling this, I'd be nervous. Period.
Right.
But like if I was
yeah.
pulling this and I had absolute full comprehension of every aspect of this, like I knew everything about the plane, I knew everything about the parachuting, I knew everything about how I'm gonna have to handle the bills later, I would still be nervous.
Right.
Oh,
You know.
yeah.
So there has to be some kind of element to explain why he was so confident, especially considering that he didn't know much about parachuting.
Right.
So like, you know,
Yeah, it seems delusional to me, at
yeah,
least.
could see some elements of delusion, especially, you know, the fake personality and like, you know, appearing as like this, like, oh, I'm holding this hostage, you know.
Right.
It could have been very like he was validated by that science fiction thing, and he's like, no, this guy was like the Robin Hood, and I'm gonna be the Robin Hood. I'm gonna do this.
It seems like a very kind of narcissistic way of going about this fantasy. Anyway, but yeah, he was a very like bondish individual. Another thing that I really wanted to dive into, which is like the most mystery for me, is the money, right?
Yeah.
So only $58,000 of the $200,000 were found by that boy, right?
Yeah.
Which leads to the question: did some of the other money get like carried over by Cooper? Yeah. Was it buried somewhere else? Did it float somewhere else? We have no idea.
Yeah, we don't even know if he's alive or dead.
Right.
Yeah, my
So-
money's on dead.
Yeah,
That's
probably dead.
That just seems the
Also, if
likelihood
we're-
of him surviving is just so low, it seems.
And if we assume he landed in a body of water, which is entirely possible if there was some kind of water flow, sedimentation and like happens very quickly.
Well-
So when did the kid found it when he was like, what?
In 1970
He found it in he found it in 1970
or 1980. Sorry.
Yeah, he found it in 1980, which was close after, right? And so
Right,
like
7 years.
the amount of like, you know, mineral deposit and like, you know,
Right.
sedimentation that would happen is reasonable if it was buried.
Right.
At this point, like if it fell in the water, you know, it's going to get soaking wet and sink, and then, you know, dirt's going to get on it, and after a while it's paper money. Like it's
But what
it's
happened
just
to
going
the
to
other
disintegrate
money?
in the water eventually.
disintegrate in the water or get buried or, you know, decompose.
But why did only some survive?
Well, you said
I
it
don't
was
think it's-
buried in like land, right? There wasn't like
Yeah.
water. It was like
Well, what they think happened is it was washed up or possibly buried by an animal, but there's no concrete evidence. But my whole thing is
I don't think it's a far cry to say that it got separated in the river and some of it washed up on shore, some of it sunk. Like,
Right.
that seems likely.
Is the Washington River connected to the ocean?
The Columbia River is connected to the man-made lake that he was supposedly like landed next to.
Oh, so it's not connected to like any rivers or? Oh no, it's a river. Yes, it's a river. Yeah, it also could have just like gone to the ocean. Washington's really close to the ocean. After some time, it just
Floats.
picked up by some salmon, used to support his family as he breeds.
Yeah.
It's a good payday.
Get some clip-on ties for that salmon.
Good salmon.
Salmon clip-on ties.
I'm gonna go over what I think happened.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think that this man wasn't part of the military or a paratrooper at all, because that's what the FBI first thought. They thought he was an extreme specialist and a paratrooper, because like how else would you know all this information?
Well, the guy was like, it wasn't until I think I remember in the BuzzFeed video, they didn't even speculate that he was an idiot until the newest guy who's investigating it came on. And everybody's like, he had to, because he was so confident and he knew all these things. Right. The new dude was like, hey, a smart person wouldn't have done this, question mark?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Well, and that's the thing it's not like the dude was like, I'm just gonna jump out this fucking plane. It was like he had like specific instructions.
Yeah.
But like he did some dumb shit.
Yeah.
So personally what I think is that he the theory of the titanium, of him working in an executive position but him being a bookworm could have been highly probable. I think that he read a lot and he tried to actually like months in advance plan out everything that he had to do, and then just didn't account for the small details, but committed this mass heist. And then when he was parachuting out, something happened that went wrong. And what I think, honestly, is the weight of the parachutes along with the weight of the money caused him to drown and float into the propellers of a ship in Portland's docking station, because it was the number one like port for like incoming supplies and stuff, which is also a popular theory that I read that I kind of like sided with, that the money that the money that stayed with him that didn't float away through the Columbia River, that was stuck on his body sometime after he died, floated into the port due to the propellers and sucked him as well as the money up, never to be seen again.
Gross.
I don't know, that I'm with you on some of it and not on the other. I think I don't think he was an exec. I think he was definitely somewhere in the scientific or manufacturing line, not like business or anything, because he knew enough about planes where like he knew something. Like
I agree.
I think he was like book smart, intelligent.
Yeah, he was probably doing some science stuff, maybe some like engineer, not on the like physical manufacturing side, but on the calculation side, which explains
maybe
the contamination.
Design or something.
Some kind of grandiose idea. Also, context. This was 1971.
Yeah.
I believe this is close to when the Volcker shock happened. So that was when it was like borderline the worst depression since the Great Depression. So it could have been like this grandiose idea of like stealing the money and like redistributing it if he was, reading the Dan Cooper.
Well, and it's funny that you mentioned that is because a lot of behavioral psychologists said that the reason why he would pull such a heist like this is because of desperate times and desperate measures.
Yeah,
so the fact that there was a depression during that time is he could have been just completely out of money trying to support his family and came up with this grandiose plan. He could have also been, again, distributing the wealth like a Robin Hood figure.
Yeah.
Again, there are many people who have come forward and stated that they are, in fact, D.B. Cooper, and there's been a lot of points to pushing towards this one man, but we don't know for sure.
Yeah.
Well, you guys, I'm so glad that you brought this up because I have a confession to make. I am D.B. Cooper.
Fuck.
Is Ted Cruz D.B. Cooper?
Oh my god, he's right in front of us the whole time.
Not only the Zodiac Killer, but also D.B. Cooper.
Oh my god,
shock.
D.B. Cooper is the Zodiac Killer.
Got it.
I mean,
The FBI raids the house.
Get
down.
I get a text, stay, like, don't fucking move.
Right where you are.
But no, yeah, that's what I was thinking when I was thinking like 70s, because I'm taking a class right now where we're talking about neoliberalism and like, God, I forget when it's specifically Hicks. I forget when Volcker was appointed to the Fed, but like that whole era was like, it was like legitimately people were lining up around the corner to get a job, and like 3,000 people would line up for 200 available jobs.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Which I on a side note, I would actually love to talk about, you know, something similar to that, because that has become of great interest to me. Like that whole era is a lot worse than I think, well, obviously any of us know, because we're, you know, we're youngins, if you will. All of the older people were like, yes, 71 was a bad year. So yeah, I mean, like, I'm really on the side that like something was not 100% correct in his wiring. And like he had this like overconfidence, like he was gonna
clearly,
you know, right the wrongs, and like he can do this because he knows some things. Like that's, you know, really the only way I can rationalize someone carrying out something this excessive. This is a lot. Like and you know, it sounds to me like, based on like the money floating, that he probably landed in, you know, a river or a lake and drowned. You know, rivers are moving fast. If he lands in a deep river and like, you know, gonna decompose, gonna fall apart, the money somehow deposits on the shore. You know, 1980 is not that far away from 71. Like, it's not unreasonable that he found it and dug it up. But at this point, I don't think anybody's gonna find anything. I don't know if it's as specific as he floated into a harbor and got, you know, minced.
Right. Well, that's the most like specific theory I saw that I can get behind.
I mean, am I wrong?
No. I think it'd be interesting to look at the missing people that, like, missing men that went missing that day. But there was one man who I love, and I forgot what his name was. I had it in one of the articles, but basically he told his wife on his deathbed that he was indeed D.B. Cooper.
Oh yeah, I remember that story.
And she went, "What?" And he was like, "Never mind, let me carry it to my grave." And I love that. Like, this man, like, lived a life of secrecy. Like, let's say, like, he was this good guy, right? Let's say that he was, in fact, D.B. Cooper, and he, like, got this money for his family, and, like, you know, lived this successful life trying to cover it up, stressed out, and eventually he's on his deathbed, and he goes, "You know, sweetheart, I've had a lot of guilt over the years not telling you or the sons about this, but, I'm D.B. Cooper," and she's in the kitchen. She's going, "What? Can you come in the other room?"
I'm sorry, I was blending something. Did you say something?
And he just goes,
I love
"Let me
this
die with
image
it."
where, like, her husband is on his deathbed and she's in the kitchen blending something.
Making a margarita for herself. It's 4.
It's margarita time.
me,
Margarita
and
time.
one for me.
Yeah, I mean, like, and then also, like, the unmarked bills thing, I know, like, they're like, where the fuck could all this money go? Like, we've all worked in retail. Even if they told me explicitly, look for these specific serial numbers on 20s, we're trying to find a mastermind. I don't know, dude, like 2.5 hours into my shift, if somebody hands me a 20, it's going in my...
I don't care if the 20, I don't care if the 20 is covered in blood. I'll be like, all right, had a wild night, you know?
You look at it a little funny, you hold it up, you're like, this blood? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, yeah. Like, I'm like, you know, obviously, like, they went to big financial institutions and they went to, like, casinos.
Right. Gambling, yeah.
If he lived, which, you know, I don't think he did.
But why would you do a heist of that amount of money? Also, a very specific amount of money. Why would you do that heist for that amount of money just to be like, let's go to the horse races? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I don't think they're gonna, like, go gambling, or they're even gonna, like, invest it. If I don't know. I feel like it would be like money you slowly take out to, like...
I guess just my biggest thing is that, you know, all right. My biggest thing is that, sorry.
Well, Brooke hasn't talked about her theory.
Well, yeah, no, I know, but I guess my biggest thing is just, like, he's either the biggest fucking idiot of all time or one of America's best masterminds, and that just makes me so upset that I don't know which one it is.
We'll never know. No, yeah. I don't think it's... I can't imagine a scenario where this such a misguided plan goes so perfectly that he survived and got all the money and didn't get caught, right? Like, also, can I just really quick, can you imagine if he did survive and this money was for his family, trying to hide that from your family forever?
Yeah, I'm sorry. You're as a wife, you're like, oh, I don't know if we're going to make the mortgage payment. Right. Oh, I paid that off.
How the
With what
fuck did you...
money? Don't worry about it, sweetie. I'm gonna worry about it a little bit.
Yeah, meanwhile, all over the news, there's this, like, discussion of a plane heist where this exact amount of money went missing.
Kind of looks like your husband, and you're
Meanwhile, there's a duffel bag in the living room filled with filled with the exact cash. And you're like, sweetheart, I'm just,
Yeah.
I know I trust you, and I know we're building our trust, but this concerns me.
oh no, honestly, like, I do remember there's been, like, instances, like, there's one dude who, like, he had killed his family, and he, like, essentially went missing, right? And the only reason they caught him was they did an Unsolved Mysteries back in the day, and, like, the fucking, like, composite image of him aged looked literally exactly like him.
Whoa.
And he was watching the episode with his, like, new wife, right? And she's kind of looking at it, and she's like, kind of looks like you. Isn't that hilarious? And he's like, whoa. And she never
Wild.
reported it. Like, it literally looked exactly like him. And she's like, that's crazy.
I hate that.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
that's
so
wild.
terrifying to me. I'm waiting for the day where it's like eventually I get married and then all of a sudden I'm in the kitchen and the FBI just storms into my house.
And you're just continue, like, drying your lasagna pan. Like, yeah, it's...
I guess.
Away,
Train's going under,
officers.
we knew it. It was a wild ride, bud.
It's been real.
Yeah.
Well, so that's the story. And this is honestly, and I want to say on a side note, like, as we're doing this, it has actually been so difficult to research these topics because there's
Right,
so
because there's
little,
nothing there.
right?
Well, there's so little, and then the conspiracy theories are just either so ridiculously in depth and just like the most wild thing, like a clown parachuted from the sky. I met DB Cooper halfway through. Is
that real?
No.
But I mean,
man.
maybe.
Don't tease me.
I mean, but, like, no, that it was so difficult to, like, you know, mine, like, I could not emphasize enough how little information that there was on my topic.
Exactly.
Like, if you go to the Wikipedia article, they literally have an entire list of exact coordinates when they pinged before it went off the radar. And, like, even then, like, you know, I admit, none of us have expertise in planes.
Right.
So
Oh, yeah,
I'm not
no.
going to be able to, like, go through the exact list of coordinates and map it out and be like, I've discovered something that the entire world hasn't like, that's just, it's not going to work like that.
Yeah.
Also, how boring would that be?
Yeah. We're just having a fun time. A couple gals giving you as much information as we can.
As much information
gals
as
being
is
pals.
available. Guys being dudes, nothing wrong with that.
Just a couple guys being dudes. Yeah, I think honestly this had me really excited, but also it's
Bizarre.
a lot of research, and I swear to God, Burke, if you do another plane one, I'm gonna come after you.
Well, here's the thing, guys, is I'm doing both the Malaysian airline disappearance and DB Cooper.
Oh God.
I'm going to
So-
talk about how the Malaysian airline disappearance, but I need to stop. What's the fuck is happening here? On her tablet, she, like, closes her, like, her screen of, like, her you know, her text. First picture that comes up is O.J. Simpson's face.
You really want to know why? It's in my photos because of the fact that when we first started this podcast, Olivia told me we couldn't talk about two topics. I'm not even going to name one of them because it's forbidden. But one of those topics was O.J. Simpson because me and Olivia love talking about how corrupt of a man O.J. Simpson was.
One of the first
both-
things Olivia and I did when we, like, reconnected as friends was spend, like...
After years of not talking to each other, okay, this was like casually like, man, it's we've lost so much time, like I can't wait to, and I went, I want to watch a 7.5 hour documentary with you, and you're like,
we did it in one sitting.
Yeah, me and Olivia have watched the documentary like twice now.
yeah,
Right.
twice
Yeah.
together, and then independently, I've
don't
seen it
even
a
know how many
total of,
times.
which also, side note, if you have not seen the 7.5 O.J. Simpson documentary that's available on ESPN for free, I don't know what you're doing. Watch it. I've seen it like
It's really
7.5
good.
hours long, so you have to be as crazy as we are. But
it's
Or you could just space it out like a normal person. It's cool.
yeah, or you could do like an episode a night, each episode being like an hour or whatever. Yeah, that's fine. Get it done.
And like, and also I want to say, like, for anybody that's like, I'm not interested in that, I don't really like true crime, the reason why this documentary is so incredible is it doesn't just talk about the murder. The murder is maybe like 1.5 episodes,
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
What it does is it contextualizes his entire life relative to, like, racism in the U.S., right? So
and
it
we are
talks
breaking
about,
our rule.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. And so, but basically, I had in our like first Discord chat when we were setting everything up for the podcast, I had sent Olivia just a picture of O.J. Simpson as a bit, and it's always been there. So whenever I open up my tablet, it's always O.J. going.
That's OJ's little face.
Smiling.
Yeah, sorry. You get me started about OJ.
And it just
Never get
spirals.
Olivia
The
started
juice-
about OJ.
If we ever talk about OJ, it will have to be a 3-episode
Oh my
series.
god, it literally is just on O.J. If you guys really want to hear about O.J. Simpson and you let us know, like, one of you is like, yeah, that might be interesting, we'll already start research it. We'll, like, literally be on our
problem-
computers.
Is that like we couldn't do it better than the documentaries, plural, have done already?
Oh my god. Sweet fucking Jesus,
Are
my
you
ankles.
okay?
Me and Olivia are also, for context, squished into a bathroom recording together because I came home for Thanksgiving break. And, we've just been sitting against this tile wall, and my ankles are literally like someone just took a fucking hammer in misery.
So I guess that is the story of D.B. Cooper,
That is the story
my
of D.B.
friends.
Cooper.
Is it just me, or does DB Cooper sound like he should wear a bowler hat?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's already got the clip-on tie. And the clip-on
Right.
tie also has, like, a little pearl emblem on it. It's just, like, the most, like,
Ooh.
basic white dude.
Can
in
you
the
imagine
70s
he's
tie.
getting a clip-on tie for this heist, and he's like picking it out, and he like picks up the like basic black tie, and he sees the one with the pearl, and he's like, oh well, hold on. I mean, this is
Gotta
my
splurge.
Extra something.
this is my first heist.
I
And
love.
if I'm gonna make $20,000 from or $200,000 from this heist, you know, like,
Gonna look damn
my
good while I
moment?
do it.
Treat myself.
I love the image that he like went out and bought a special clip-on tie for the heist.
Well, it's a special occasion. It's his first heist.
You're
Maybe,
so right.
or maybe he's a heist man. Maybe
He's a
he's
seasoned heister.
Ooh. Yeah, you know, it could be another theory too, just throwing it out there before we wrap it up. Maybe he had done heists before and hadn't like been caught for it, and this was like a big one, which could explain some confidence.
Yeah, maybe.
Anyway, on that note, thank you for listening in. I'm hoping you're enjoying our unsolved mystery episodes.
Oh yes.
Unsolved non-murder related mysteries.
Non-murder.
Next week we're doing a mini-sode, but next episode it's gonna be Brooke's time. And then after that we're doing CIA cover-up and conspiracies, and mine is gonna be fucking wild. So
I'm excited.
yeah, it's gonna be.
I still need to figure out exactly what I'm doing, but
If you'll find. You can ask Jack too. Jack's got some ideas.
Yeah.
I'll throw some ideas out in the group chat.
Yeah, that one's gonna be another tough one to research because there's not gonna be much.
As long as we pick something that has like the documents have been released. If you go on the CIA, all of their like public documents are actually like categorized
Oh,
by like
yes,
the
that's
big
right.
boys. So that's
big boys.
You know, so I'm gonna be reading a lot of
also,
those.
thank you for the suggestion of doing the CIA cover-ups. This was suggested to us via Twitter.
No, it was my friend
poll.
messaged me, and he said specifically he specifically recommended the one that I'm going to be doing.
Oh, okay.
He said I want this one in particular. This is so great. I'll loan you books. And
Wow.
I went, well, you know, I can't just, you know, everybody's got to do something related. So I picked, CIA cover-ups, and I'm going to do the one that he recommended to me, and then we're all going to be bumming everyone out.
Yeah, I'm
We did a
excited
Twitter
about
poll,
that.
and it's what everybody wanted. So
Right.
Everybody-
Please send us suggestions on what you want to hear in the future too.
Yes.
yes, you can tweet at TTKMeUp, or you can use the hashtag TTKMeUp. We are tracking both, so
Yes.
we will
Also,
hear
you can DM us on Instagram, I believe,
Yeah.
and we'll respond to that. And
Slide into my DM, girl.
yeah, we have a website.
DM is it plural?
DMs slated to my direct messages.
Oh, that's what it is.
Bree.
Okay, I'm embarrassed myself.
wait.
I looked at Olivia's face and she looked at me like, Brianna, how do you not know what the DMs?
Dude.
I just thought it was.
Like just the like DMs was just like a phrase. You
I
didn't
thought
know
it was just a meme. She puts her head down.
Oh boy.
This is the same gal who, when I told her to open her control panel,
Oh,
she
no,
said,
don't
"Oh,
talk
there's a
about
little search bar where you can just look things up." I love
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, for someone who is a co-host of this podcast, I know absolutely zero about technology. I don't trust it. I don't know how any of it works. Anyway, leave us an iTunes review.
That would be great.
That would be great. It really promotes us. It's a dumb algorithm. It does nothing for our egos. Well, no, it does a lot for our egos.
It does a lot for our egos.
Yeah,
It does
but
so much.
It's mostly the boosting of. You can say whatever you want. You can say Olivia's wrong for liking LaCroix, and she's never had any other beverages before. And
What?
I don't
And
know,
that's true.
People are really upset about my love for LaCroix. I have like
It's
two a day.
weird.
I am.
So,
Yeah, Bree's shoes looked cute today during the podcast, even though you've never seen my feet or my shoes.
do you notice there's 2 LaCroix in the room that we're recording in right now?
There's 2? Oh my god.
They both belong to you,
where did
don't
the other
they?
one come from? It just literally appeared out of thin air.
Oh,
God.
is it open yet? Oh, that's a fresh boy.
Oh my god, you're disgusting. It is open. Were you sitting in here with a LaCroix?
Which one is new? They're both cold. Oh,
God,
these are
this
2
is what I
cold.
have to fucking deal with.
Awesome. I'm going to put these over here and I'm going to enjoy these ones for today.
I can't work like this.
The level of unprofessionalism?
I'm sorry, which one of us has a half a pint? No. It is a pint. It's a pint of Mountain Dew. It's a liter of Mountain Dew in my fridge right now.
Cool.
Yeah. Anyway, we're getting off topic.
The topic of getting out of here.
Yes, and so thank you for listening. We love you all. Thank you for our
do.
patrons. I'm so sorry for misgendering you, our B.
We love you so much.
Oh, we love you all, and we love interacting with you, and I look forward to hearing the responses to some DB Cooper. If you've got a weird theory, I'd love to.
Yeah,
Hell yes. Tweet us. Tell us your theories.
If you are DB Cooper, please DM me specifically. I would
Guys.
like to know. I
Guys,
will
I
keep your
already
secret.
told you. I'm DB Cooper.
Right.
Right, my B. Right,
And we're gonna close off today with a promo from a podcast that we love so much. We met on Twitter and they have a really great show. It is called Our True Crime Podcast. Check them out. That'll be our closer for the episode.
All right, thank you. We love you all. Enjoy some Tchaikovsky and then enjoy a little promo.
Hell yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.
It's been real deuces.
Are your friends tired of hearing you talk about serial killers?
While you're at a dinner party, have you randomly blurted out the odds of being murdered by a complete stranger?
Does Netflix only recommend documentaries on true crime and murder?
If you've answered yes to one or more of these questions,
Come over and sit at our friends' table.
I'm Cam,
And I'm Jen.
and we are the co-host of our True Crime Podcast.
And you can listen to us every Wednesday wherever you download your podcasts.
See you on Wednesday. Oh, bye-bye.
Love ya.